Hey, what is up, everybody? Hunter Orrell back with another interview today with Brycent, one of the leading content creators in the Web3 space. We get into all the good topics, gaming, AI, the overall market, and we do go back into conversation specifically on content creation on both sides of that. If you are somebody who has an interest in the gaming space, I think he has some great views on where that market is and how it's going to mature and what it takes to bring in the next wave of Web3 users and how gaming is uniquely positioned for that. As always, thank you for tuning in and watching these. It means the world to me, and I hope you enjoy this interview with Brycent.
That's
This is
insane.
okay. So real quick, because I know we're live now. I know there's gonna be a ton of people flooding in. People are gonna have questions on. Obviously, Mentat just went live, which I'm an advisor for. You and I have just been talking. This is no prep. We're just gonna interview each other almost, and get to know each other better.
Yeah.
We were just talking before stream went live. Like, what was my intro into the space, and it was, I basically I've told this story once or twice. In
Yeah.
2021, when I had like already kind of been trading and whatnot, I found out NFTs and I put my entire stock portfolio, retirement account, I liquidated,
Wow.
savings, I sold a car. I mean everything
So
in
like
this.
you went all in.
Yeah. Like I maybe had like $100 to $1,000 in my bank account at the time and nothing else outside of crypto, and then ran like, and I like what, six figures. Like, I'm in my 20s, had a good job. I'd sold a company like that I just threw in and outside of like house and stuff. And I ran that down to like zero over the course of like a month. It was
Yeah.
crazy. Like, I'll never forget Gary V on Chubby's. Like, I aped those and they went to like zero. And like, again,
Oh my goodness.
that's on me. That's on me. Like, yeah, that's a lesson you learn. But you know, I then just went to the trenches, like
Yeah.
legit went to the trenches. And over the course of, a year, basically was able to build a huge stack and help launch some of the bigger companies in the space and did the right trades. And here we are.
That's crazy. I mean, that's like an insane story of like, yeah, you like going all in. Like I was on the gaming side. So like I had a similar story when I first jumped in with Axie, where it's like I went all in and like it kind of worked out. I mean, I literally took out a loan and like that's how I first got into space. But I didn't know too much about like the NFT world. So I stayed away from it. I missed some diabolical cooks
Ooh.
being like being a one chain guy. And then like once you like get to the end of 2021 and gaming is at this point like it's low key kind of dying. Like you're seeing the writing on the wall. I'm like, yo, I need to like just start looking into some other stuff. And then I got deeper into the more wider Web3 gaming space. But I mean, I couldn't imagine just if you would have caught that early, like catching the early board apes or catching any of these things early and
I
like
minted I minted Bored Apes.
oh my gosh. See, yeah, you were right time, right moment, and then just like taking that and being able to still like you make a little bit of money and being able to like 10, 20, 50x that, like that's impressive.
Yeah, yeah. No, I remember like literally the directly above me, the floor above me, I was standing and I was on the phone with my mom and I said I just spent $750 on a photo of a monkey. Um and I remember just being like that's so crazy. And then to look back on that and be like, well, that was a multi-million dollar trade at the
Yeah.
time. Um it,
Best $700 ever spent.
I spent more than that. Well,
How many did you mint?
I minted 4. I sold a
Okay.
tr I sold a Trippy Ape for 3 ETH, which would have been $1 million. Yeah, yeah,
Oh my.
I fumbled that. I fumbled a couple rare ones. I always think back to, like, do you know what your craziest mint is? Because 'Cause I've minted some crazy stuff, like
Mm,
RNG gods on my side kinda thing.
my craziest mint. I actually don't think I've ever gotten like lucky with a mint. Like maybe no, I didn't. I never had like a crazy mint. I've minted some stuff where it's like, okay, it's like worth a bit, but nothing where I was like, man, I got like a one of one or something that's like a 0.1% rare or anything that crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Trippy Ape, I minted number 10,000 of number 10 of that 10,000 Punk's comic. I was the last mint.
Oh, that's crazy.
Um,
Or
Luke
you weren't around like you didn't mint a crypto punk, did you? Were you around that early?
No, no, no. I Gary had mentioned it in like I guess like a kind of a chat that I was uh on the side of, but he never
Yeah.
like I was not one of the guys he like reached out to, but I did hear through Gary and was just not in the right spot, understanding what was going on with NFTs at the right time to make a move on that.
It's
But
so nuts.
yeah, yeah. But again, apologies for being late to this. We just launched the token I've been advising for. Absolutely insane. What we just ran to 60 million now.
Running.
I think once there's some initial like snipers, etc., that are out there. Once that kind of gets out, I think, and people start to realize that it's a real thing, has real tech behind it.
Yeah.
And the team is I never put my name next to something. This is the other thing we were talking about before we
Facts.
went live is how risky it is when you have a big following. You have over 200,000 people who follow you. You know that not being anonymous and having your name next to something is just risk. Um,
Yeah. It's
I,
it's 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 so nerve-wracking because you want to talk about things, you want to invest in things, you want to express it. But you know what I realized? It's kind of nuts because people tend to look at life through this like lens that content creators should be altruistic and like think about the greater good of everybody and everything and put everything and everybody over themselves. Meanwhile, watching everybody and everyone else kind of like make money, whether it's like as a byproduct of them doing something, saying something, or promoting something, or being a part of something. But it's almost like if you were a content creator, people see you as almost like the dev. It's like, oh well, this guy sold. It's like, I mean, yeah,
yeah,
I'm trying to live too. I'm trying to I'm here to make money just like you are.
I can't.
But
But for you, it's like even crazier because you have to have fresh stuff. You're always looking at games, and so you are like every single day you're almost promoting something, even if you're not right. Like a company could have not paid you. You have zero skin in the game, but you
yeah,
still got to play the game. And people look at that as almost like, oh, well, if he's playing it, then it must be good, kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, it's kind of crazy because to your point, if I post about something that I just truly like, you always get people that are like, oh, well, he's only talking about this because he's paid to. And a lot of the times I just post stuff like games will hit me up, projects will hit me up, and I'll tweet something that's like not even paid, but people will like, oh man, this is probably paid. I'm like, dude, you like would you rather me just like not talk about anything, not do anything, not make any money? It's like even if some content isn't paid, you still have to put something out to be able to like continue cultivating your audience. But I
Yeah,
do think that there's this big disconnect between like the content creator and then like a lot of just the ancillary web3 community, not like the people that actually like know you, talk to you in your stream, watching your content every day. But there are people who are just like, oh well, if it's talked about, it has to be a shill or this, that, and a third. And some things, yeah, of course, got to get paid too. Some things are a shill, but I try to be pretty open and transparent when I am shilling something that I'm paid to talk about. But it is an interesting conundrum because you see a lot of creators, and I've even thought about it of just instead of taking as many deals, because I don't really take a ton anyway as it is, but like building my own like private community. Like I've seen a ton of creators that just go that route because they're like, hey, I'd rather have my own community, give a group of 100 to 1,000 people alpha, charge a little bit to get in there and like cultivate that audience instead of
yeah.
like trying to get as big as possible under an umbrella and you're kind of beholden to doing brand deals to a point because unless you're doing a ton of trading or you're doing a ton of things on the side, it's your business. So you want to get to the point where you don't have to rely on those things. So you could just be like, okay, fuck off all of you. I'll just like cultivate my small group, be in first, sell the bags and kind of do your own thing. So I think there's just a lot of like moving parts behind being a creator. And sometimes I do wonder, I'm like, man, what would life be like if I was just kind of anonymous? Because there are a ton of big anonymous creators as well.
There have been times where I wish I was anonymous, right? I I've felt the heat. I've felt I guess here's the thing, if you're gonna be in the space and be like a face and a known personality, you gotta be ready to take the flowers with the rocks, right?
That's
Like
true.
I I don't know, when I sold one of like I think my twin flame, I remember like I was being like celebrated on the time. I was like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god, like, he just made all this money," or like when Crawley Town won
Yeah, we
the
got to get
champion.
into that too. I want to know how you like what made you want to purchase them. Like we got to talk about that in a little bit.
Okay, we'll get into that. And I also love this is way different than every other interview. The craziness of today and everything. This is like more of like two friends just having a conversation, which I love.
100%.
Um, but I've also seen like so you like it's really easy when the wins are coming, everybody's like, "Oh, this guy rocks." But then the second, something goes wrong for somebody, it's so easy, especially on Twitter where, there's, Twitter fingers,
Oh man,
just ugh.
you know how those go.
It's hard, but you just gotta have thick skin, and I think I've grown a lot from it as a human. Like things used to really, really bother me, and now like they still get to me, but I also understand like I can't make everybody happy, and as long as
Yeah,
my heart and intentions are in the right place, I shouldn't feel terrible. But yeah,
yeah.
it's hard.
To your point, there was a quote that I saw on the timeline. I think it was like Cody Sanchez or someone retweeted
Oh,
it, and it
love
was like,
Cody Sanchez.
yeah, she's just like a superstar. Like I watch her TikToks of her talk about entrepreneurship and buying boring businesses, and I'm like, I'll keep trading coins, but maybe one day when I've made enough, I'll buy something boring. But the quote was like, "Do you want people to like you or do you want to win?" And that one stuck with me because I was like, to the point that regardless of what you do, people are going to hate you. Like I remember back when I first stopped like playing Axie and stopped talking about Ronin Network. Oh man, everyone in the Ronin Network was like, "Oh my god, he's such a grifter. He took so much money." And I'm like, dude, you guys don't realize Axie never paid me a dime. Like I'm out here making content on this shit pretty much for free. I'm trying to go where I can get a bag and not
Right.
just like be talking about something for like friendship equity. Because of course, friendship equity doesn't pay the bills. But you know, you get to that point where you're like, dude, who gives a damn if 5,000 people hate me? If another 10 or 15 or 20 are like, oh man, this guy's stand up. We love him, X, Y, and Z. So it's like, I feel that where it's like,
Do you
you
do you
grow
think
up and
by
you build that
doing
skin.
Do you think by doing content and, like, being like I mean, it's so easy to, like, get to know you through what you're doing, your personality shows. Do you think that separates you if you've just been doing it, like, through Twitter posts? Like, people get to actually know you a little bit better.
Yeah,
Um,
I do
do you
because,
think
like,
it
for
helps?
example, but especially like chatting with you, right? Like, I can talk to you, and it feels like even though we don't talk every day, we don't talk every
Right.
week. I think the last time we chatted was like a vibe, but to the point of we could hop on a call and it just be very good energy because we're just two genuinely very positive energy people, and I can feel that. Versus like sometimes when people just see a tweet or they just see words, like there's no real, personality behind it or personability. And I think that a lot of people see that and they're like, well, he has X amount of followers and he gets to be a full-time gamer, regardless of if he's like flaunting like cars or anything crazy, which I don't. It's people being like, I don't like this guy because he talks about games, he gets paid to play games. I think he might be a shill, whatever the case may be. But to the point of when you get on a video like this, like if I'm talking to you, you're talking to me. There's no in between. There's no world where it's like, oh, I'm just gonna like be as disrespectful as somebody is when they're like tweeting like anonymously. Like there was
Yeah.
a instance the other day. I was playing Counter Strike with this kid in game, and I'm streaming, and he dies in the game. He starts talking some shit, tries to blame me. Me and this kid argue in the game for a couple of minutes, and then like the game ends, and I'm like, whatever. He comes into my chat. I'm like, bro, give me your fucking Discord, and we'll fucking hash it out on stream right now. We hash it out. By the end of it, we're like just friends. Like we go and we start queuing together because when you talk to people, it's hard to just be like, oh, you're a piece of shit. It's like, okay, why do you think I'm a piece of shit? Well, I think you did X, Y, Z, or you rug this, or you rug that. I'm like, well, what if I tell you I didn't? And here's the actual story. Well, this is what someone told me about this on this page on Twitter. I'm like, well, I'm right here in front of you. Let's jam it out. So it's funny because to your point, there's something about back and forth conversation that just changes the way people perceive you, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. I I think what did you how did you start? Because your progression always, like, being, like, out and, like, forward facing and, like, I want people to, like, know who I am and, like,
So
content?
I've always been like a fan of gaming content. But when I first got started in crypto and Web3, I was a software engineer. So I was like just working every day, working
Yeah.
at the Department of Veteran Affairs in DC. And then COVID hit, and then I started working from home, and I just started streaming. And like I saw, like I was listening to Karush AK. He has a podcast where he used to run one, and he was talking about like digital land and Web3 games and all this shit, and it made sense to me. And I was like, I'm just gonna go try and find information. And there was like no one streaming it. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna stream it. And I started off with like a couple of viewers as the bull run kind of extended and play to earn got popular. People just started coming into streams. So it's kind of like I became a front facing creator because there really wasn't like anybody at the time, but also because like the market kind of made it that. And
Yep.
it got to the point where, I didn't have a ton of money at the time. I'm in student loan debt. I, graduated from school a couple years prior. I didn't have money to invest in all these like as stuff rose. I was like, well, if I can build up some equity in making content, maybe I can start building up a little bit of a bag for myself. And that's kind of what, gave me my initial start in the space. It wasn't really like I'm aspiring to be a big, well-known Web3 gamer, but more so just like if it happens, it happens. And now I'm at the point now, I'm gonna be honest with you, as much as I love gaming content, I would so much rather like just get to the point where I make enough money to be in the background and like help companies build dope shit and like never have to worry about the chirping and all the other BS that comes with being like a forward-facing content creator. Because now I'm seeing like a good friend of mine, Orangey, who's gotten super popular. And
He's
dude,
killing it. He's
he
killing it.
he constantly like he gets a ton of love and a ton of hate, and it's like the back and forth. And I'm like, bro, if I was up that much in like a year, I wouldn't even want to go outside. I'd be like, people know who I am. Like, would someone just like want to rob me? I'm like, so I couldn't imagine like getting to the point where it's like, oh, well, I'm a forward facing person and people know I'm worth like 5, 10, whatever $1 million. Like right now, I'm gonna be honest, my net worth isn't crazy. So like you couldn't really rob me for much. Like you're not gonna get into my ledger. But when people know like you're posting like crazy P&Ls on the timeline, bro, it just, you know how people get, bro. When money's involved, like people will do some crazy things.
It gets crazy. But you ever see like rappers want to be professional athletes, professional athletes always want to be a rapper. Like grass
Mm,
is always greener on the other side. Like I
that's
I think
facts.
I think there's tons of people who are doing these groups who are like, if I could just play games and get paid, like I would much rather do that. Like there's definitely
That's
somebody out there
true.
who'd be like, let's switch spots. Like you want to run a mile in my shoes, it's a little different. I,
That is like very true. Like to your point, even like it gets to a point where like there's everyone has a number money wise where it's like, okay, like I'm at the point in my life where money wise, if I made the exact thing I currently make for forever, I can just infinitely play video games and fund a very, good lifestyle. Of course, everyone wants to make a little more money, but like life is good. Versus like if you're a trader who's running this crazy group and you got so much happening, maybe you do get to that point where it's like, man, if I could just go ghost and just dump all this and go back to just playing video games, like I'm chilling. So to your point, I think you're right. But I want to know, man, you're not just like trading and making money in crypto. You're buying football teams. I'm a huge football fan, Chelsea FC.
no, okay.
I want to know what got you what made you wake up and be like, you know what? This team right here in this division of
Yeah.
English football,
I
this is my Ted
nobody
Lasso.
no so nobody really knows a lot about like who I am outside of like I think the crypto space, which I love and I also hate. Nobody knows I've sold software companies before. Nobody knows that uh like my background is in AI. Nobody knows that I played basically for the Olympic development program in soccer
That's
as a
insane.
kid growing up. Yeah, no, I every single day before like engineering and crypto and everything was soccer. That was it. My like goal and the way my life was structured was be like a professional soccer player.
That's so
Um
fire.
but I rolled out of bed, got a text message from somebody in the crypto space that we've done a couple big deals with, and they said, "Do you want to buy a soccer team?" And I said, "Ha ha ha! Like, where do I send the money? I'm in." And jokingly, I swear to God, this is such a bad look. I jokingly was like, "Well, it'd be funny if I sent him a bunch of money because I know him, I trust him. He's like family to me." And
Yeah.
then 2 weeks later, he's like, "All right, I think we have a team under contract." And I was like, "Yo, I kind of like need that money back." He's like, "No, like we're doing this." And then like things were in motion. Like the
Yeah.
discovery process has started. Crawley had come across the desk and they're like, it's legit. You need to come look at this. Um Went looked at Crawley, saw the story of like where they've been and was like, "Oh my god, like this like I think when you know, it's like
Yeah.
dating a girl sometimes, in like business, like when you just see the
You see
landscape
the
and
you,
what it
you see
is,
the
you
vision of what it could be
yeah,
right then and there.
and it clicked. That moment clicked. And I the highs and the lows of it have been extreme. And I would say like right now is a low point. Like we're down in relegation level. We
Yeah.
haven't won a game in a while. Like, and I wouldn't trade the experience for anything because even though the lows really fucking suck, I've learned so much. I think I've grown a ton from it, and it's
Yeah.
been the best experience from a like uh, where else are you going to be able to get like meet all these random people from across the globe who are diehard fans of this organization that you get to be a steward of? Um,
It's pretty
it's been
incredible.
crazy. It's been crazy, crazy.
I could only imagine. Like you look up, especially so for example, and this is like completely different um story, but
It-
you know, I had like a crazy trade a couple weeks ago. And
Can you share
simply
like
just
what it was?
so I was it was an AI coin.
Okay.
And I still own a fair amount of it, but it was an AI coin called Nora. And I mean
Okay.
I made a fair amount of money. It was like probably one of my biggest just like day trades. I think I was one of my biggest day trades. And I gave the team back supply because I literally just they didn't buy any of their own supply when they launched the token. So I was like, I'm just gonna give you guys some supply back. And I still ended
Wow.
up walking away with like it was like 50 or 60 grand on like maybe 500 bucks. And it was crazy because I then like said I like then paid my like I paid a couple bills for my sister or whatever. And like she was just insanely happy and like, oh my God, like I can't believe like this money came out of nowhere. And I'm just like, you know, spending a couple $1,000s doesn't feel like much to us in the space because like we see so much money moving, you know, regularly. But when you think of it like, oh, you go out and like, you know, buy a team and now you're the steward of this. Most of the people that are watching that couldn't fathom, you know, going on the internet, putting $500 into a coin and watching it go up and appreciate in value because whether it's the tech or the company or the vibes, there's something behind it that makes this like temporarily, even if it's only for a short time, worth something.
Yep.
And making an amount of money to most of those people that would be considered like a yearly or a half a year salary or whatever the case may be, they can't fathom like waking up and like changing their life overnight because fundamentally it didn't exist, you know, in their time frame. It didn't
Yep.
exist in their thought process. So I sometimes try to just like come back to the idea that you got to understand that even though you might not be doing as well as somebody else, you are doing better than like 99% of the world. And they can't even fathom getting, seeing, or even potentially attaining the amount of money that exists in our industry on a daily basis. Like to the point of where like you just announced that you're a, you know, supporting, advising, I don't know what the role is with a crazy project, a new
Yeah. Fermenta.
AI
Yeah.
project. Yeah.
Yep.
Like watching that run up to like now it's at like 45 mil market cap and there's like so many cool things you guys have planned.
Oh,
Can you
it's
imagine like if think about a random Joe being able to just buy into that at like catching it at 150K market cap? Like bro would probably look up and be like, wow, I can just save for the next X amount of years. Meanwhile, they're saving $300 a paycheck or whatever the case may be. It's like,
crypto is the great equalizer though. Like
yeah,
if you have you don't have to have $1 million to be a big player in it. If you're playing in the stock market, you have to have like $1 million minimum if you want to make a career, like pay your bills over a year, unless you are
100%.
playing down in like the real like in the trenches of the stock market. That which is
Yeah, like, which is
I
like,
would genuinely argue that that is trenchier and more PvP than even like what we see on Solana in some cases.
and you probably have less information that you're trading with. Like, where do you go to get information on a penny stock, weed
It's an
stock?
insider that you have to have like insider information. You're like it's a way different trench. Um and that's why I say I think it's way harder where if you're like lurking in the right group with the right people and you spend a month in there and you start talking to the right things, you can get the right information. Oh, wait, this is my cousin from Stanford who is launching this token and it's real, there's real stuff behind it.
Yeah.
You're in the right place at the right time. $150 all of a sudden is 20K possibly.
Oh, I mean,
It's
I totally agree. Like, and that's the cool thing. It's crazy because you know when I first thought of what Pump Fun was, I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be like great for memes. But to be honest, Pump Fun is just like a startup accelerator.
it
It's
is.
legit a startup accelerator at this point.
It is. A lot of people say it's bad for the crypto space. I think it just it removed friction from a mechanism that was very hard to do. And I think you could say the same thing about OpenSea and Manifold and all these other places that made NFT launching art on the blockchain very easy. What did that do? That spurred an industry to come out of it. Now it's moved to token launches, and then AI 16 and virtuals, they move to agents. It's just removing friction and making things easier for people that have ideas to be able to do them. That's the great the great part about all of this. Things just got easier to do. And it's only going to keep accelerating in that direction. Now, what does that look like? What's the next meta? And I hate calling it meta, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows where we're headed from here? But things get really weird really quickly over the next 9 months.
Well, to your point, right? When you think of where like the dynamic of crypto is, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I was the guy for the longest time, and I think the crypto space, it broke me. It broke me, but not in a way where I look at it and I'm like, oh, it broke me in a bad way, or it's making me like a shitty person or making me feel like I'm not doing enough. But I got to the point where I realized like you can like express how much you want everything to be a net positive, and like you want to create, like you hope that this world of crypto is like fighting against the authoritarian government's control over finance, and the authoritarian Steam and all these places that are like, cracking down on Web3 gaming, whatever the case may be. But I got to the point where I realized that like at the end of the day, it does not really matter what I think crypto should be used for. The only thing that matters is what do humans use it for? What do they believe it's like valuable for? And then using that, whether it's to like launch your own company that builds on those use cases, or can promote something that adds value to whatever the use cases are that people want. And most people, me included, I enjoy trading coins. I enjoy buying and speculating on things. They want some level of speculation. That doesn't mean that's the only type of project that can exist. I mean, we have a entire world of projects in crypto security like Ledger and Keystone in that realm. But if you're talking consumerism, right? You're talking consumerism, a lot of it is going to be based around speculating on a free, open asset market economy, and trying to pretend that like, oh, well, this isn't the supreme use case. You're going to move into a space where like you're missing out on so much, because when you think about it, when I was a kid, I heard of the stock market. My parents never got me into the stock market because they didn't know how the fuck the stock market worked.
Right.
Like, they didn't understand what you needed to do in like 2000 to buy a stock, or like go online, or even like find a stockbroker. Like that stuff, like for a long time, wasn't open to them. Then we got the Robin Hoods and all these platforms where it made it to where you can go online and be a degenerate and buy options and all this stuff from your phone. It's like, the only thing that's happening, right, in a good way, is that we're starting to see things become more open and democratized for anybody to do whatever the hell they want with it. And that is like the basis of crypto. Like, take your money, take whatever you want in your assets, and just do whatever the hell you want. You want to go out in PvP and lose? Like, you can win or lose. But it doesn't mean that like the action of what someone is doing is bad because there's over speculation. It just means that like that's the use case. There could be more use cases, don't get me wrong, but like, why fade a use case that is just like so obvious? And I think I did that for a very long time.
That is so true. I think, okay, so the craziest part of the fade, I would say so far, is the world that you come from, which is gaming. Gamers are and maybe you can share some insight on this, because and I don't know if you know this either. We're learning a lot about each other.
Oh, 100%.
So I'm one of the co-founders of Ready Player DAO, which is one of the larger gaming, it's
Yeah.
investment guild.
I love what you
I'm
guys are doing.
I'm heavily exposed there in the
Yeah.
gaming sector, and I believe in it. I'm an investor in Loopify, Streaver. There's the list is long, but people just refuse from the traditional gaming world to accept that Web3 gaming, and maybe that's not even the right terminology, but even just Web3 technology in gaming should exist. What's your take there? How do you feel? Because I know you got an opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, I think a lot of people have just been allowed platforms that are centralized, like Steam and Epic Games. Epic Games less to a lesser extent because they allow Web3 games now, but like Riot and Steam and all these gaming creators, to basically blacklist and overall just brainwash them into thinking that like crypto is bad, right? And I think that there are certain games that like are open to it. Games like CS, like those audiences, I've had so many people like watch my CS streams that they'll be in a giveaway or they'll win a giveaway and they're like, "Oh, how do I how do I redeem it?" I'm like, "Well, you better download a crypto wallet and learn how to use it." And they will do it because they realize like, "Wow, this is a lot quicker than like trying to get a wire or whatever the case is." But I think that because in the early stages we only saw like very basic games, a lot of people are like very taken aback by crypto and gaming. But I think the future of it will perform well. The problem you have, right, is the same thing that a lot of these coins and crypto have. Bro, our attention spans are like nothing, right? So
Nothing.
if you're building a game that takes 3 years in crypto, you got the crypto sentiment on your back, but also you could launch that game, right? And like get no one playing it or have people playing it for a week and then the game dies. And you're like, wow, I just spent my last 3 years building the thing of my life for it to like flop. But it's
Yeah.
like, that's kind of where just traditional gaming is. Like there was a expensive FPS game, Spectre Divide, that Shroud pushed. That game's dead. Like it was a good game, but it was dead in like a week and a half just because people don't care enough. So now me as a gamer, and I tell a lot of these games, I'm like, you have the hardest job ever, right? Because you got to try to keep people's attention in a world where you're fighting crypto attention and traditional gaming attention spans. And 99.9% of these games will lose. Not because the game's bad, just because it is very tough to keep people's attention and then also be able to pump out enough content to actually like, have battle passes and updates and expansions and collaborations. Like if you look at Fortnite, man, they have Mr. Beast and not Kobe, it was another basketball player. I think it was like LeBron. And like they have so many
Yep.
different collabs, Spider-Man, stuff that every single week it takes so many dev hours and man hours to like collab and put this stuff out. And Web3 games, for the most part, like don't have the necessary resources, even with the funding, to be able to like compete at that level. I think that for the most part, the indie scene would actually benefit more from Web3 gaming, but I'm bullish on the category, knowing that most of these games will also fail. And I am obviously like now I'm more bullish and I don't fade just the traditional crypto world because I do think I've like come to see it as a video game. I see Pump Fun as a video game. I see investing in these coins. I see airdrops, all this different shit. I'm like, this is literally just like an RPG on chain. And some parts of the RPG are just expansions, like when like Blizzard having an expansion for World of Warcraft or whatever the case may be. It's like once you understand all these different things, and to your point, the metas where it's like, okay, did they balance the shotgun this week? Whatever the case may be. All of these metas provide different opportunities to like make money, whether you're trading quick, whether you're swing trading. And it creates a world where like now I'm like getting to the point where, okay, I don't really need to do as many gaming deals anymore. Now I'm thinking like, man, do I take my skills in content creation and what I know about crypto and literally try to run laps around people who are trying to make crypto content without having like traditional content backgrounds?
Right.
Because there's a market for it. If I make a video on YouTube of a Web3 game and it gets 100 viewers because there's no one looking for the game versus me making a video on like trading crypto, I can make the crypto trading video 100 times better than someone who hasn't been making content that long and have an actual world where YouTube is going to be like, oh, people are looking for crypto trading content. I'm going to send this to people. So it's almost like not having just a pure brand around crypto trading, investing, et cetera, is almost like a net negative, I would say, for most content creators that are even doing gaming content because you're already doing both sides of the coin. Start
Right.
thinking about like how you can expand in both departments.
That's so true. I think content for crypto is about to have its real moment, and I've ranted about this on X. I've ranted this about on stream. I think you have to point to Abstract for being the spark that fuels this. Also we're live on Abstract.
Yeah.
Shout out people have been tipping in ETH and
Oh,
Pengu.
fire.
Absolutely love to
Keep
see it.
tipping, man. Keep tipping.
Yeah. It's I genuinely see if you're able to talk about this stuff in a real way and show knowledge and because it's only get more integrated into everything, right? Like gaming into, lifestyle into like clothing. Like this hat,
Yeah.
for example, it has a crypto
9
component to it.
BCC.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
I can talk about why it's an interesting fashion brand and why it's different and why you should be paying attention to it. But if you don't understand crypto, none of the fashion influencers can really give a good insight there. And so you being able to play both sides just puts you in a more advantageous position, in my opinion.
No, I
Um,
mean, I totally agree with you. I've been like low key working on my own like crypto channel on the side. I haven't launched a video yet, but I'm crafting my first video. And I look at it like to your point, I think that the crypto industry has more money per capita of people looking to spend money, project looking to spend money than any other industry, maybe
yep.
outside of like the health and wellness space, because that space cooks on like TikTok and all that. But like I think of it like this. I mean, when you combine the ability to take like a referral code for a trading platform and make a viral video and then plug your referral and people sign up. And like I know people making 10K a day just off of referral volume that's happening on like BullX or
Yep.
Nova. And it's like, look at that. And then you look at all of these crypto companies that do have money, that do spend. You are a much more powerful brand by trying to do shit in crypto as just a general crypto influencer than you are, I think, just like being overly niche in gaming. And you can,
Mm.
and the cool thing is you can expand. Like you can be like, all right, I want to do more crypto stuff now. And it's just posting more crypto stuff
Yep.
and just making more crypto content. And people are just like, oh, well, this is just his like overall like transition. But I'm waiting for the day where we start seeing more traders and more creators do the Mr. Beast style of content, but in crypto. Like I'm waiting for the guy to be like,
What does that look like?
I tried going from broke to rich trading meme coins, and you start with like $50 or $100, and like you give yourself a 6-7 day challenge. Or I tried copy trading to $1,000,000, and you plug it, yeah, and then you reach out to it could be GMGN, whatever the name is, and be like,
Oh yeah.
hey, I'm doing this crazy video. I think it's gonna go crazy. Like sponsor this video and give me a referral code or whatever the case may be, and like I'm gonna plug you for the video. And he's like, okay, today, I'm going to be copy trading millionaire wallets to see if it can turn me into a meme coin millionaire. I gathered 10 wallets off the blockchain from 10 different traders who've made at least $5 million each. And then you pop up and show all the P&Ls. And today we're going to see which trader can make me the most money. And then you take a 5-day period, you put $1,000 to each one of them. And after 5 days, you compare them to see who made the most or lost you the most money. And it's like, how many crypto products can you like input in that time frame? But it's like the combination of entertainment and educational. You're like, hey, I'm doing this thing, but I'm going to also show you how you can do the same. So I do think crypto is like a
Fire.
very untapped world, bro. Like I
Fire.
don't even think the creators doing the content now realize how much opportunity exists if you can make good content.
Good, but see, good content. It's
That's
not.
to your point.
It's hard. Yeah, there has to be quality. It's funny you say that. I tried to do the 50. I was like gonna do 50 soul to 1,000 soul,
Yeah.
and got from 50 to like 500, and then lost it
Oh
all in one.
man.
It was, I should have made content out of that though. It would have been good. It would have been a learning experience.
Did you like max Portno like one
I
trade? Like
did.
you just like
I had one trade that I was like, I got a max port on it, and it died. And I was like, like when it was down 50%, I was like, it has to bounce here, because like I kind of knew the people that were doing it, not like well, but
yeah.
um yeah, and then they rugged, and it was like, oh well, uh, guess all right, let's load another 50 soul up. Back to it.
Yeah.
But that's the space. Like I knew the game I'm playing. It's high risk, high reward.
I mean, to your point, like that kind of is the space. Like you do run into those moments where it's like, okay, you make a little bit of money and you feel like you're climbing. I have had some friends that have like gone like, oh man, this is the play. Like a friend was telling me today, actually, he was like, yo, I'm like down really bad on my Pango investment. Like I can't believe like I put this much in. And I'm like, but that's also the game. It's like, because you know that there's like, think about it, like you go in 100K, 200K in a Pingu, it's 2 or 3x away from you being able to like completely change your thought process around your portfolio. You're willing to take that risk. And it's like, if it pays off the same way the guys who were buying, 100K worth of Trump at a $3 billion market cap, it's like, you look like a genius. But
Yeah.
on the other side of every genius trade, there's always like a moment like,
There's a
if
winner and
it
a
doesn't?
loser. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's But again, I think mentality, and like, not to get David Goggins and fucking like motivational speaker here, but you got to show up every day ready to fucking get punched in the face, spit on, burned, drowned, everything go wrong, your girlfriend leave you, you're out on the streets cold. Like, you got to be ready to stand
Facts.
up and be like, whatever. You know what? Like, I'm going back in. I believe in this space. I know what I'm doing is right. Like, I'm back. Like, bring me the next one. Run me through the ringer again. I don't care. Like, I'm still going to show up. I'm still going to keep trading. I'm still going to be doing the work that's necessary. Because if you're just throwing money, you're going to lose. That's
Yeah.
gambling. But if you're
100%.
showing up and putting the fucking work in, you got to be ready to lose and know that the win is coming. Because look, it is a space where people who work their asses off get rewarded. You don't
100%.
get to your following just putting out, one piece of content a week. You are in the studio editing, thinking of ideas, talking to teams, doing business development, and that's what gets you to where you're at. The same thing happens with trading. The same things happens with building a company. You got to be bloodthirsty. And to go back to, because we brought up abstract and content and whatnot, Luca Netz is somebody who I think
Huge.
exemplifies what a bloodthirsty, gives no fucks at any cost, we're gonna do this kind of leader. And I think you have to have that same mentality for trading, the same idea and mentality for content creation, because that's what it takes to win in the hyper competitive space that we operate in. That's what it takes.
Damn. I mean, you're over here getting me hyped. You got me ready to go make some content now. But no, I mean, bro, you're absolutely correct. Like a lot of people, I've seen it so many times. People will hit me up, even they'll come in my streams and they'll be like, I tried streaming, I had no viewers, and I cut it off because I was discouraged. I was like, bro, you know how many times I've tried streaming or making content and no one liked it? You know how many times I put $500 into a video edit and it absolutely flop and no one watch it? How many times I've completely tried something that failed over and over and over again just to get like one or two moments where like you swing the bat and then you hit a home run and you get that high and you're like, how can I keep replicating? And sometimes, you truly can't unless you just like you strike gold. But people don't realize how much of a focus and almost like you almost got to go insane behind the competition level of why you think something is important. Because if you really just think, oh man, I just want to do this just to like, I want to make content just for the money. Trading might be different because like trading is enough to motivate you for the money. But like, if your whole thought process is, I'm just making content for the money, you are going to get so burnt out very quickly. Like, you're going to turn on one stream, no one's going to be there. And you're not going to have the knowledge to wonder or even do the research to say, okay, no one's watching my stream. How do I get my initial 10 audience? Well, I need to go first. I need to go and I need to figure out what my actual niche is. I need to figure out if people are actually watching content in that niche. Then I'm going to go to TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram and make 50 TikToks in a singular month about things in that niche and try to plug people back to my actual stream that's happening at XYZ time. Then I might get 5% of those people that come from my TikTok to watch my stream. And I got to do this over and over and over again, month over month over month to get to 100 viewers and then 1,000. And then who knows, maybe I get a plug from an Aiden Ross or like Thread Guy or somebody sees my content. They're like, oh, this is dope. Come on my stream. And then you hit the home run. But to hit the home run, you swung and struck out 15, 20, 35, 40 times. Your batting average is like less than 100. Like, people don't see that side of it.
Mm-mm.
Or the same with meme coins. Like, people think, oh, well, I'm just going to buy one coin. It's going to just like take off and I'm just going to make all this money. It's like, dude, you don't see the amount of time someone's used a Twitter checker on a profile page. Someone's scanned to see if there were other meme coins of the same coin that happened first. Someone's gone and bought subscriptions into 5 different groups from JS Shock, from Orangey, from TJR Trades, and then went cross-reference that one coin in 5 different groups to see if someone was talking about it before making one big trade that changed their life. It's like that's happening at such a pace all day long. It's like a Formula One speed pace of what people are doing and moving. And if you aren't moving with the right purpose, you're going to get left behind. It's just like, it's just so much shit happening.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the DeepSeek shit. Like, imagine that.
You think that just popped up overnight? Hell no.
I still wonder if they actually did that with 6 mil or if China's trolling that piece of it.
I have a hard, like, controversial take on it that if you think they didn't use NVIDIA chips, if you think that China's not backing this in some way and all this is truth, I think you're insane.
I'm the same way. Like, I don't think they did that shit on 6 mil. I feel like China.
Do I think the tech works? Yes, the tech works. It is a breakthrough. It is like, oh wow, this is interesting. But if you think that Sam Altman, if you don't think Donald Trump is taking this personally right now, you're also insane.
He's not gonna lose to China.
Nope. The US, it's, and I had on I don't know if you know Barack Crimo from 6529 Capital. Like, I had him on yesterday. We chat about this, and he disagrees that it's not a nuclear arms race, right? And I think he's right in some aspect, but I still do feel this urgency of, like, the U.S. takes it personally of we need to be seen and known that we are leaders in this space.
So, like, to your point about that, I've been reading a book that I've actually loving it called The Bitcoin Standard. And it talks about like how like, money, like what makes money like valuable and what makes it like absolutely shit. And one thing that I've kind of like taken away from like what we've seen is that because new technology so heavily dominates and predicates where money flows in and out, Trump, to your point, and I think the wider US is taking this so serious. Like the people who understand the value of this at the top are taking this so seriously because the future of what like economic prosperity could look like for the United States is riding on two major factors. It's not military anymore because we already have the largest standing military. If you see the US go get into a random war, just know we realize that we fucked up somewhere else in our system and we need to be able to like go out, take somebody else's like autonomy to actually like bring back stability to the US economy overall. But every country can just print endless money. But the countries that can sustainably make their ecosystem, which is their like their nations, their nation states, look more valuable than others, are the ones that are at the cusp of innovation. And
Yep.
right now, the U.S. has been lapped on crypto. We're finally getting some autonomy back there in AI with the help of Elon Musk. You have Scale AI. You also have the work that Sam is doing. If we lose this race to China, it could change the complexity of what the US financial system looks like over the next 20, 30, 50 years. Who knows how long, because AI is going to keep getting better and better. So I think it behooves a lot of people to realize that like this isn't just like a, oh man, my crypto went down for a week thing. It's a, how do we make sure that we're protected against the future of what civilization looks like?
Yep.
And being on the right or wrong side of history starts now. It starts like with everything that's happening on a regular basis. Same reason why the guy who built DeepSeek was like, he responded to Sam. He was just like, good luck. Like to me, it's like he realizes like how incredible this moment is. And it's a competition. That's what makes it all great.
You have engineers being paid entry salary like 1.5 million if you can do certain things. That
Crazy.
entry. Um, and the salaries go crazy from there. But I know I have friends that basically they're like, I can go make infinite money. I could go do anything because I know this very specific thing that is needed, and that is
Yeah,
the level of demand that is happening globally right now. Um, the same way like the pump fund trenches, and you see these people like they're in 10 groups, and like there are teams out there who are like, hey, we know that this has to be built out for AI infra, and they are just nonstop. If they're not sleeping, they're in front of their laptop coding, and
100%.
like it's kind of crazy things, and it only snowballs too because you have people building out frameworks that then take away like 2 weeks of work because oh, I can just use this API plugin,
Yep.
and it just keeps going faster and faster and faster. um I'm excited, man. It's gonna get so weird,
I'm
so
stoked
weird.
as well. I feel like we're moving into a space where everything is so easily creatable that to really stand out, it will require that more personalized touch. Like we're seeing it with abstract and like what Luke is trying to build, built on the back of like the pudgy IP, which is like that's the personal touch. Because if we think like just like logically, there is no real difference between any of these L2s, right? They all do similar things. It's all about like what can get people willing to connect their identity to a certain place, and that's what Luca is kind of betting on with like building abstract on top of this pudgy ecosystem that he had already, taken so much good time to cultivate. So, I mean, from my perspective, is like the same of yours. Is like we are going to be getting to use all of this, the fruits of that labor, the new technology in AI, the new technology happening in crypto. And over the next couple of years, if we do get this really strong crypto legislation in favor of the crypto industry, it's going to change the complexity of like how people see Bitcoin, all of our investments. Like I think we look up and the people who are here now, like there could be multiples of people worth hundreds of millions of dollars in the next like 10, 20 years, just because of the innovations that are happening in AI in the wider financial space tied to crypto right now. Like who knows what happens with all these coins? What happens when some of these AI projects get to the point where they are competing with OpenAI or DeepSeek or Grok? Like, dude, no one realizes like at that point you're talking $100 billion valuations for crypto tokens that were launched on Pump
Yep.
Fund. Like it
Yep.
isn't there yet, but there will be one or maybe even multiple that do find a way to break that threshold.
Yeah. I I've placed my bet on the fine tuning side with Mentat. That's I still think that that's the middle layer that's been overlooked. And I don't know how like well versed you are, but like the fact that people are using Grok and OpenAI, ChatGPT, and Claude for some of this stuff is just kind of dumb.
Hmm.
Like they're generalized models. They're supposed to be able to like answer something about like the history of the founding of the United States, but
Yeah.
then also solve like a physics problem. We need like models that are specific to crypto are gonna be like the
That's
models that change the game, in my opinion. The
so,
same
so
way that's what's gonna change the medical field. A model that is specifically trained on cancer research and
yeah.
cancer formulations, that has a huge impact. And so that's the way we're approaching it. And I think that
I
that's
love
what
that.
starts competing with other like these brand no names like OpenAI, right? Like, or not competing, but they play in that middle layer of, hey, we're being used for open or AI 16Z or being used for this project, but it's a specific
Yeah.
use case.
Yeah, I mean, to like that point, so it's crazy because you asked me like my background. When before I got in the crypto space in 2020, I was actually building an AI company with a friend called
Oh,
yeah, it was called Graduate. And the whole idea was to be able to use interpersonal skills from the individual, like from their time in college and the things that they love, to be able to match them with jobs based on various aspects of the company, whether it's like they're hiring, their company work life, their work life balance, the actual thing you would be working on it in the role. So getting information on the role instead of the more generalized approach of like, oh, here's a job application, but more so like, let's go talk to someone who does that role at that job, get information from them, and then train the AI model on it. And of course, like it was early, the idea flopped. We realized like you really couldn't make that much money off of it because like college students would only need to use it once. But to the point around being able to have specialized intelligence versus general intelligence, like I think that like that is such a huge moat because from my perspective, I look at it like this: if you're giving me a medical or healthcare a medical AI that is specialized in brain surgery and being able to detect cancerous brain tumors, I would rather train that AI on information and data that can only be gathered through university scholars and people who've either like done the research or medical schools and like collaborating in spaces with data that like you might not be able to get directly from just sourcing open AI,
yeah,
like being able to like get data that isn't open to the public and using that to train better models that won't be as open sourced as we do see the general stuff because
it
there's
won't
I mean
it won't be able to because of
yeah
sensitive information, things that are proprietary. And once you start letting like there are systems that like I don't publicly talk about for like how I research a token. You can
yeah
bake that into a model, but I still don't want like people to understand that like that process publicly.
yeah
But all of a
but
sudden that actual like that pipeline of research becomes usable. And I still,
Yeah, it's like them, they can have the outcome, but we don't want them to know the sauce in between that the
right.
AI model can access per se.
Yes, correct. You get it, and this in crypto it gets interesting, but I think for the medical field it gets really, really interesting when all of a sudden a pharmaceutical company that has all these all this non-public data on like research for formulations and for hey, this enzyme reacted this way, but we never published it. When they start making their own models, because they are, and it's
Mm,
certainly happening, you'll start to see, I think, the cost and the progress within the medical field really start to favor consumers again. I think it just gets
yeah.
competitive,
I
very
mean, I
competitive.
agree with you, especially in a world where we look at kind of the strenuous nature of like doing things in the healthcare industry right now. Like, for example, yesterday, like, unfortunately, my dad had to go to the hospital
Oh my
for high
god.
blood. He went for high blood pressure, and they were saying his blood pressure was like at the same level as somebody who was having a stroke. So like my stepmother calls me while I'm midstream. She never calls me during the stream. And my dad answers and he's like talking around it. And she's like, tell him where we're at. And he like tells me the hospital or whatever. And he's like, yeah, I got to go see like a cardiologist to talk about this artery that they might have to like do some surgery on. He's okay now, like long
Okay.
story short. But to the point of like the time between him finding out he has to do that and going and actually like doing it is still way more time than what's necessary versus being able to have AI technology that in house can be like, okay, based on your numbers, based on what we know of you as, a 55-year-old black man and you come from a family that has a history of, maybe it's lung cancer, whatever, high blood pressure, being able to take that data and get a personally identifiable recommendation on who to go to, how this can be treated in terms of just simple things like things that you can eat on a regular basis to make this better, tailored to the things that like are associated with your biological aspects. Like some of that stuff is just doesn't exist right now, but the data that AI could take and be able to make these inferences and provide information, it's going to get scary, but in a good
Yep.
way.
Yep. I'm excited for it.
Crazy.
I'm
Crazy.
excited, man. Well, I'm glad to know your dad's well. But
Yeah, I told him he gotta lay off the fast food, bro. He's gonna be fine. He likes eating fried food a little bit too much. He doesn't get his steps in, and he's fine.
uh, I get it. I'm right there with him. I love fried food.
Man, I
It's a
love me some
weakness.
Chick-fil-A.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, look, man, I don't want to hold you up too long today. And obviously, I'm having a crazy one here. I'd love real quick though to kind of cap things off, and obviously it's big. Uh, Abstract has a ton of games that just launched, and I think
Yeah.
even outside of Abstract, there's a ton of stuff that just launched. On the gaming side, is there anything on your radar that you're excited and having fun playing?
So I'm very very bullish on Wilder World. I think that their metaverse is going to be cool. I'm not paid to say that, by the way. Like they're not paying me. I'm just saying it because I think it's like a cool platform, even though it's going to take them a long time to get it where they need to be. I'm still in the process of trying to dive in on the Web3 games and abstract. But like my recommendation to anybody in the audience would be, do not go out and buy any of these shit Web3 gaming tokens yet. Like play the game, right? If you like the game, buy something in the game, buy tokens. If you think you can make money off the game, buy something. But if your whole thought process is like, and most people don't have this like ability, I'm going to hold this token for 2 to 3 years and then hope something incredible happens. I promise you, unless the team pivots, it probably won't happen. As much as like I love the Illuvium team, they're a good example of it. Had like at the height, one of the craziest tokens, one of the craziest ideas, but like as complexity and time sets in, the longer it takes a dev, normally it makes it even longer to like go back and iterate and get information and be able to move to the next stage. So I would say like take Web3 gaming with a game of salt, make your money trading other coins, and like just monitor the space as you see cool things pop up. I'll share them. I share them on my page quite often, but I'm not going to tell you to invest in any coins because I think most of them aren't in a good state. But there are some really cool guilds. Like I love the work that you guys were doing at Ready Player DAO. Like Rich Cabrera is one of my good friends. So like he like legitimately another person who was super passionate about Web3 gaming, especially when the space took off. Also, I really like what Yield Guild's doing. I think that like Asia's going to be they're going to be big for Web3 game, man. Like it's just so impactful to see, regardless of if I'm in play to earn gaming, which I'm not anymore. It's impactful to see people being able to grind games and make money. So I would say just be very conscious, like people in general. Like there's faster investments to make more money than Web3 gaming. But if you see something you like and you're bullish on it, give it a go.
There you go. Very a very responsible note to end on.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. My gaming portfolio is not that high right now. Like I got a couple of things that I'm invested in, but like I'm in AI, I'm in memes, I'm trading shit. Like I'm a DJ. So I'm that's where I'm gonna keep my money at because that's where the money's flowing.
I love it. I love it.
So I appreciate you having me, bro. We gotta link up more, man. This was
Yeah,
like such a
well,
vibe.
I think we'll link in
I'm gonna
offline,
just
but I think
message you, bro.
we're not
Like,
far away from each other at all. So I'll be down near you hopefully in the next week or so, and we'll
okay,
link up in person.
let's do it, bro. We'll talk soon. I appreciate you for
Amazing.
having me.
Of course, man. A pleasure to have you. I know everybody who is listening in absolutely loved it. A lot of again, this is different than getting shill tokens. A lot of people want to know about content creation. And you're killing it. You're one of the best ones to look to, and your advice and guidance, I know definitely helps people. So I'm grateful for it even.
Bro,
And
I'm
I'm glad we
thankful I
got to
got to
have this
come on,
conversation.
bro. Like
Yeah, man.
legit, this is so much fun.
Awesome. All right, guys.
Hey,
Well,
bro.
thank you for tuning in. Brycent, again, thank you so much. We'll catch you all in the next one.